Hi, good morning, class. My name is Michael Cates, and I am your new world history teacher. And the principal asked me to make a video about myself and whom, what I am, and what I stand for, and what my philosophy on life is. And so I'm going to do a short video for you, and I'm going to kind of do it in some chronological order, almost like history. So the first thing is I want you to know about me is my name is Michael Patrick Cates again, and I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we left St. Paul and we ended up moving to Iowa. I was raised in a small town called Waterloo, Iowa, and I have seven brothers and sisters. I am the youngest of eight, and so that was kind of my life. My father worked for John Deere's, my mother was a stay at home mom, but there weren't always great things that were going on, and so we ended up being sent to foster care for a number of years, and that was pretty trying and telling, but it definitely allowed me to get some stability, and that was really a really great thing at that time. Um, right around that time again, my father, who had been working at John Deere, um, he really wanted to make sure the family stayed together, so he got their last three remaining kids out of foster care, and he raised us. So I was raised pretty primarily by my father. Um, in high school, like yourself, I was trying to figure everything out, and I didn't know everything and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew I wanted to do something. Um, but I really always excelled at history, excelled at the arts and different things like that. And so I took a lot of refuge in writing and reading. I was also a pretty good athlete in high school. I ran for the track team, and we made it to state for a number of years, and that was really cool. Um, but I didn't really know I wanted to do with my life, and so after high school, not having any aspirations to go to college, I joined the Marine Corps. And one of the things that I'm going to tell you is that I never thought I could be a teacher. I've always done a number of different things, but never thought I could be a teacher. And I'll explain a little bit of why that is the case. And so I joined the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps is everything that you've heard about it. It's tough, it's stern, but it's a really stable living. And I excelled as being a Marine. And my job there, I was worked in the office and did procedures and stuff like that. And so I did that for 4 years. And when it came time for me to get out, I wanted to really get out and pursue college. And so I applied for a number of colleges, and I was accepted in my hometown and one of the university I really wanted to go to, and it was the University of Northern Iowa, the Panthers. And I joined there, and I started studying history, and particularly African American history, and that was again something that I really enjoyed when I was a young Marine. But kind of going back to why I never thought I wanted to become a teacher or could become a teacher. Um, that was something that was out of reach to me. When I was in the first grade, I was having some, because of this instability that was going on in my household, I missed a lot of school. And so therefore, the principal and the teacher decided that I needed to be held back in a year. And so I always kind of grew up thinking I was not good enough in regards to the grades that I made. And even though I graduated from high school with a C plus average, I still didn't think I was, and I really wanted to become a teacher. I still didn't think I was good enough to become a teacher. And so speed that up. And my first year in college, and I'll be very honest with you, was a horrible, horrible year. I was still trying to get acclimated to being a student again, learning again, and it was definitely trying. But I went out and I sought tutors, and I sought mentors, people to help me. And after that, it was just pretty much smooth sailing. I began to excel. And I think a lot of it had to do with just um, my doubt of myself. And then also, just learning those different skills that I learned in the Marine Corps was very helpful. And so I soared after that, and I took off, and I did really well. And I started getting A's, started getting B's, started getting put on the dean's list, and my university started to recognize that I was one of their leaders in the classroom. And so when it came time to um, graduate, they asked me if I would like to continue grad school. And I said yes. So I signed up for grad school at the University of Northern Iowa, and but all the while I've been always been doing some type of internship, and that's something I definitely want to make sure I talk to you guys about this year. Is about the importance of working while you're still a student, or interning while you're still a student. And so I interned at a number of museums while I was in college, and even in high school. But when I was in college, I interned at the University of Northern Iowa Museum. I interned at the Grout Museum. These are all in Waterloo, and I began to gain some different experiences. And one of my first jobs was putting together an African American learning trunk for students for the Grout Museum, and that was really a cool and fun experience. And so I graduated, but I wanted to do more museum internships, and so I applied for an internship at the Smithsonian, and I was accepted, and I went off to Washington D.C. become an education person at the Smithsonian. That was going to be for the summer, and I went off and I did that, and it was a really really neat experience. And on my way there, I should say during there, I and um, my life was transformed once again, and I don't have any hindrance saying this. I became a Christian while I was in college, and I really want to go back to the fundamentals of what I believe and who I am, because I do think it's important. I'm first and foremost a man of God, and that's something that's very important to me. Um, I share that because I think that's something that I would like for you to know about me more than anything, is that I am first and foremost a man of God, and then I am a father, and my chronological order is kind of blown out the water, but uh, this is the picture of, and if you can see it very well, that's my little boy. He's 3 here, and this is my father, and this is me in the middle. This is when I was working at my first museum job. Um, my son is 11 now, and he lives with his mom in Kansas City. Matter of fact, after I make this video, I'm going to drive up there, and I'm going to see him off to school. This is his first day as well. Um, so again, father, and also a son. My dad, who I talked about, who raised us primarily, he ended up passing away in 2012, and so my root to that story is make sure that you love your mom and your dad when they're around, because you don't never know when they're going to be gone. So that's very important. Um, so I'll talk a little bit about my son later on, but I also want to get back to my story. And so I went off and to the Smithsonian and became a Christian, and then I came back, and I was working as a graduate student. I also got a job at Wartburg College, and I did that for a semester or two. And then I ended up moving to Des Moines and working in Des Moines for a number of years, and got a job at the Fort Des Moines Museum. It was a museum for the black officers in the Women's Army Corps. It was the first place that they trained African American officers and the women who served in the Women's Army Corps, the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, and then later the Women's Army Corps. And of course, talking about world history and why World War One and World War II took place. I will kind of go into that this year as well, and why it was a world event that the United States simply could not ignore. They couldn't stay isolated any longer, and we'll talk about that again. And so I worked at the Fort Des Moines Museum for almost 10 years, and I went from the museum educator. Actually, I went from an intern, a volunteer, then I was a museum educator where I created the education programs. And then I was a curator where I took care of the collection, and I went out and interviewed women about the history of the Women's Army Corps. And finally, I became the director. And I was the director of the museum for 3 years. And I ended up leaving there, and I became the director of the African American Museum of Iowa, and that's in Cedar Rapids. And I was a director at that museum for about a year. And my family had moved to they had moved to Kansas City, and so the year later I followed them and went to Kansas City, and Um, I worked for a number of years, not within the museum field, but within the retail field. I did that for a number of years, and um, I still had this itching or wanting to teach, and that was something that I really could not kind of shake. And so I went back and I did some different things and made some waves, and I taught at school. It's called De La Salle in Kansas City, and I taught there. And unfortunately, there's some things happen where they close, and so I went back and to the museum world, and I got a job working at the Spencer Museum of Art, and that's at um, KU. It's on the Lawrence campus, and it's an art museum based around contemporary art and modern art, and that's three floors, and I work as the development communications coordinator, and I basically write grants, talk to people about donations, keep the membership, go out and solicit funding, speak at corporations about funding for the museum, and it's a great job, and I love everything I do about the job, but I always wanted to get back to the classroom and always felt like I could give more. And so that's why I'm here. I wanted to go back to the classroom and really um, do as I was taught and really get back to students. And I don't say that with any cliche or with any haughtiness. I say that with a clean heart that I really like seeing kids learn, excuse me. And so that's something that I really want to impart to you this year is that I want you to constantly be learning. We're gonna walk our way through this. I'm still learning a lot of different things, so please give me grace and I'll give you grace as well. That doesn't mean we won't work hard. We will work extremely hard, and I will have high expectations, and we'll do fun things, and we'll do things that you never thought we'd do, and I will push you in ways you never thought you've been pushed, because again, I am a Marine. And maybe if you don't believe me, I'm going to remind you. This is me when I was, I think I was about 18, and I'll tell you about that day. That day, we literally got out of the field, and this was we got out of the. I think we were doing a hike or something like that, and they told us to take these uniforms, and they were just pre-cut uniforms and pre-cut hats, and they told us to clean our faces off, put these pre-cut uniforms on, put this hat on, sit down. It was like maybe 15 seconds for every kid. They took the picture, you got up, and you're out. And so it was very quick. This is my father. And I talked to you about my dad. This is when he was a young army man. And you can see he's extremely handsome. Almost looks like he's African. But no, he's not African. He grew up with this family in Mobile, Alabama. And there were 9 of them. And like I said before, he worked at John Deere's the majority of his life. But yeah, that's a picture of me. Not much older than you, and I feel like I'm so much older now. Um, so, so you'll have to work hard, and you'll have to do some things that you never thought you'd do. But we're gonna have fun, and that's one of the things I want to impart to you. Is I want you to have fun. I want you to learn. I will not. I will not ask you to do anything I would not do, and I will come prepared. I will come with a plan. I will come with energy and a willingness to listen, but I want you to do your part too. I want you to come with a mindset that you want to learn. I know world history isn't always the funnest history, but we're going to make it fun. We're going to make it exciting, and we're going to learn together, and we're going to be patient with each other, but we're going to continue to move towards that goal of being better each and every day. And so I am so thrilled that I'm your teacher. I can't tell you how long I've wanted this, and my son, I was talking to my son about going back to the classroom, and he was so excited for me, and that's really kind of cool when your kid knows that, and he's watched you over the years teach kids from across the country, and he knows that this is my passion, and so he was excited for me. He wasn't happy that I was leaving the museum. He really liked the Spencer Museum, but I told them we're going to go there. And all my coworkers have been asking me if I'm going to bring you guys there, and so that's my hope. And I'm going to talk to the principal and the administrators about